Hey there and welcome back to Tube Guruji channel. Today with the help of React, Next.js and AI, we are going to build an AI room and home interior design application. In this full stack application, we're gonna learn with the help of AI how we can turn any room into a beautiful interior. Let's walk through the application first and then we'll talk about all the tech stack which we are going to use to build this application. If you see, we have this landing screen. Over here you will see how AI will update your interior of your room to the at a new level. Okay, let's click on this dashboard section, and once you click on this one you will navigate to the login screen or sign up screen. We added the social authentication as well as email and password authentication. Let's log into our app, and once you log in you will see you will redirect it on the dashboard. Here you are, if you are logging it at very first time, this is how the dashboard will look like. This is an empty state. At the top you will see you have option how many credits you have or how many credits it's left. Okay, then the profile section, and then you have this dashboard button. Also at the top you have option to buy more credit as well. Okay, as this is a SaaS application and we added the payment integration as well. Now let's create this redesign the new room. Once you click on it, you will redirect you to the new screen where you have option to upload the image of your room. So just click on it and upload the image. So I will select this image, let's say for example, and I want to change the interior of this particular room. Okay, now you will select the room type, whether it's a bedroom, kitchen, office. Okay, let's select the bedroom, and you have option to select a different interior design type. Okay, now I'm going to tell you how can we add this all of these different interior design type. Let's select that interior design type as well. I selected as a modern. Now if you have any requirement you can just add it here and simply click generate. Now we added this beautiful custom loading indicator as well. Now we'll wait to generate the interior design for your room. Now from here AI is taking care of everything, and boom, once the image is ready you will see over here, you will see this previous image as well as you have option to see the AI generated image as well. How cool, see. Okay, now if you want to see the full image just click on this download button. Here you have option to see the complete image as well, or you can even download this image. Okay, now as soon as you generated the image with the help of AI, you will see your credits get updated because it uses 1 credit to generate the AI image. And now let's go to the dashboard, and in that case, now in this case you already have one room design or interior for your room ready, and you can able to see on the dashboard. If you come at any time you are able to see your or previous work on this particular dashboard. So that also, or each of the image we are going to store on our own server so that you can access it anytime. Anytime you can come to the dashboard and you can have an option to see your result. Now if you want to buy more credits you have option over here. Just click go to this buy more credits, and as soon as you land on this page you have option to select number of credits that you can add to your app. Okay, now let's say you want to select this 25 credits which cost you around $4. Just select on it, and then the PayPal payment gateway will enable for you. Now you have option to, you can either pay with the PayPal or you can also have option to pay with a debit or credit card. Okay, now this is a complete SaaS application, and that's the reason we added this PayPal payment integration for you, and from there you can start earning money as well. How cool, right? And I'm going to tell you the complete workflow and how to integrate this PayPal payment gateway very easily and seamlessly. Now guys, this is a complete full stack application, and if you are new to the React or Next.js, don't worry because we are taking care of everything. We are going to learn everything from the basic. Now let's talk about the tech stack which we are going to use to build this application. The first and very important, as this is a React application, we are going to use a React framework which is a Next.js. Okay, if you are new, don't worry, because from the creating the Next.js application we are going to learn. Okay, then for the database we are going to use a Neon PostgreSQL database along with the Drizzle ORM, so that you can seamlessly and easily can make a CRUD operation on the database with the help of this Drizzle ORM. Then for authentication we are going to use a Clerk authentication, very easy to integrate, and it provides a lot of different social providers in order to add authentication in your application. To store all our images and assets, we are going to use a Firebase storage because it's free to use and is built for the AI applications. And we are also going to use the replicate.com to get the AI API access. Okay. Now, if you want to access the source code of this particular project, you can go to the tubegurji.com anytime, and over here you can get access to all of my exclusive courses along with the source code for free. In order to join the membership or a TubeGurji Pro family, you can join it less than $9. Okay, and you can get access to all of this source code as well. So guys, if you did not subscribe to my channel, please do subscribe. If you like this video, press like button. Share this video with your friends and family, and don't forget to press a notification bell icon. So without doing any further delay, let's begin to develop this full stack AI room and home interior designing application. Now, to build a React Native application, we are going to use a Next.js. Next.js is one of the best React framework to build a web application, and it provides a lot of different features. The most important, it provides the server-side rendering as well as the folder-based routing structure. So you don't need to specially configure the routing, it automatically taking care of it. And if you are new to the Next.js, don't worry, because everything we are going to build it from the scratch. So first thing you need to do, just go to this nextjs.org and then simply go to this docs section. Here you will find how to install the Next.js. So simply you need to write this command npx create next app at latest. So let's go to the folder where you want to create this Next.js and open the folder at that terminal. If you are using Windows, then open the command prompt at that folder, and simply over here you need to type npx create next app at latest. Now at latest we'll install the latest version of the Next.js. Click enter, say do you want to proceed, say yes, and then you need to provide the project name. So in this case here we'll say AI room redesign. Okay, and click enter. So would you like to use TypeScript? Say no. So in this tutorial we are not going to use TypeScript. The ESLint, say no. The Tailwind CSS, we want to use Tailwind CSS, say yes. And source directory, say no. The app router, we want it, and the import alias, say no. And then it will start installing some of the dependency like React, React DOM, Next, Post CSS, and Tailwind CSS as well. Once it is done, you will find this success message, and then you can open the VS code. Now open a folder at that particular project which you just created. So in my case it is in the documents, projects, and Next.js React. So in this case we have this AI room redesign. Just open this folder. Here you need to say yes, I trust the author, and boom. Okay. Now before moving to the next part, here we are going to use a very important VS Code extension. One is React Redux Snippets tool. Okay, make sure to install this extension. And the second is Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. Okay, so whenever you write a Tailwind CSS classes, it will give you the suggestion, and this React Redux Snippet tool will help us to write your code much faster, and it will import the default template as well. Okay, now let's walk through this folder structure. Here you will see some of the files and folder. The very first and important folder, which is app folder, inside that we are going to write all our routing, all the components and everything, all the code we are going to write inside this app folder. We have the font folder. You can add your own custom fonts. Then we have globals.css file, which contain the CSS for your complete application and which is applied globally throughout the application. Then you have layout.js, which will hold the layout of your application. Now each of the Next.js application has at least one layout file which is called root layout, and inside that you will see this HTML and body content where it's rendering the children. Okay, and here we have metadata which will help us to add the SEO for your pages as well. Okay, and you will see this local font is applied. Then we have page.js, which is the default page of your application. Now once you run the application, you will see this page is getting rendered. Then we have this git ignore, which whatever the file you want to ignore while pushing the code to the GitHub, you can just mention that path. The next.config.js file, which contains the configuration related to the Next.js. The package.json contain the all the scripts to run your application or to build your application, the dependency which is using for this application, and some dev dependency which also contain the name and version of your application. And then we have this post css and tailwind.config.js file for the Tailwind CSS configuration. Okay, now let's run the application. So simply go to the terminal, click new terminal, or you can just drag this and click just drag it up. You will see this terminal over here. Now inside the terminal, you just need to type npm run dev command. Now it will start the port 3000 on localhost, and if you open this port on your web browser, you will see the Next.js application is running on this particular port. Now this is the default page of your application. Okay, now if I go to the page.js file, which is the default page, here whatever the line it's written direct, everything you will see on this screen. Now we don't want anything over here, so simply I'm going to delete all of these things, and I'm going to add a simple div, and inside that we'll say hello world. Okay, and simply save it. As soon as I save it, you will see it is getting rendered on the browser as well. So you don't need to refresh it, it automatically reload your browser. Okay, this is kind of hot reload functionality, and whatever you write, just save it and it will automatically reflect over there. Okay, so that's how you can create the Next.js application as well as you can run your application. Now next thing, we are going to install the Tailwind CSS based library called shadcn. Okay, now this is very popular library and which help us to design or style our application much faster with the help of predefined components. So first thing, let's go to this ui.shadcn.com and go to this documentation. Here go to the installation, select the framework, and then copy this npm command in order to install or integrate this shadcn into your Next.js project. So simply I will copy this one, click add new terminal, and here I will initialize this shadcn. Says yes over here, and you can select the style, whatever style you want. I will select the New York style. Then you can select the base color, we'll select the neutral. Obviously we are going to change that one. Then would you like to use CSS variable for theme? Say yes, and then boom, now our shadcn is ready to use. Now over here you will see that one or two new things are created. One is the lib folder which contains the utils.js file, and another is component.json which contains the shadcn configuration. Okay, now if in order to use any components, if you scroll down, you will see the different component like we have button, calendar, cards, and lot of different components. But if you want to use that one, you need to install each of this component using this command. Like obviously for the button, in order to use button, you will see this command, copy this npm command, go to your project and simply paste over here. Now you will see that this particular button is now installed, and here new folder get created called components. Under the UI you will see the button.jsx file. Okay, obviously which is contain the shadcn code and everything, but if you want to update it, you can. It contains a different variant, sizes and lot of other things. Now, in order to use that button, just type button, make sure it is importing from these components, UI button, and here you can write hello world. Okay, so we can just change to subscribe. If you did not subscribe, please do subscribe and save it. Now, as soon as you save it, and if I go back, you will see this beautiful button. Now here you don't need to apply any styling or anything because Shadcyan is already taken care of that one, and now our button is ready. Now if you want to change the base color of this button, you can also change that one. Okay, so simply go to the Tailwind CSS config.js file and over here search for this primary. Okay, now inside this primary we are going to change the default color, or you can put any hash code color. So here I will put 7F57F1 and simply save it. If you want to change for other, you can just go ahead and change it, and boom, if you see, the color of this button, our primary color, is now changed to this one. How cool it is, right? That's how you can also configure or change the color combination of the Shadcyan. Now let's update the font our application globally for this project. So simply go to the layout.js, and currently by default it is using the local font which is imported over here. Okay, so we don't want this font anymore, so I will delete this folder and let's delete the line of code from the layout.js file. Let's remove this local font, and also I'm going to remove this class name used for this font. Okay, now over here, in order to import or use your font, you can just import it, okay, from next/font/google. Now if you want to search which font do you want to use, just go to this Google font, and here you will find a bunch of different font which you can use for your application. Make sure to get that name, and whatever the name you want to search, just use it. For example, in this case I want to use the Google font called outfit, and in order to use it inside your application, just type outfit and you will get the suggestion from that Google font, and boom, now you imported this outfit font. Now first thing you need to do is to initialize. So here we'll say constant outfit is equal to, you need to initialize with the outfit, and here you need to provide the subset called Latin. Okay, now inside the body tag we'll just provide a class name, and here we'll say outfit dot class name, and that's all. And your font is now applied to the application, and here you will see, if I refresh it, obviously this is the new font called outfit is applied to this particular project. Okay, that's how quickly and easily you can update the font for your application. Now in order to set up a backend for our application, we are going to use a Drizzle ORM along with the Neon's PostgreSQL database. Now with the help of Drizzle ORM, it will be easy to make a CRUD operation on the database, and it's much faster than any other ORM in the market right now. So simply, first thing you need to go to this orm.drizzle.team. I will put the link in the description. Click on get started, and here make sure to select the PostgreSQL Neon database. Okay, now obviously with the help of this Neon, we are going to use this PostgreSQL to manage all our record into the database. So first thing, let's go click on this Neon, and here this is the basic file structure. If you want to follow, you can follow, but we are going to create our own file structure. Second important thing we need to do is to copy all of this command. Okay, we are not using this TSX because we are using TypeScript and not, we are using JavaScript and not TypeScript. Just copy this command, go back to your project, and inside the terminal just paste it here. So it will install the Drizzle ORM for a Neon database server and Drizzle kit along with .environment. Now once it's done, we need to create a .env file in order to add this database URL. So simply let's go to this for a root directory, and here we'll create .env.local file. Over here we'll create a new environment variable. Now inside the Next.js, every time you have to make sure whenever you want to create an environment and want to use on the client side, it should start with this next underscore public and the name of your environment variable. Okay, now in order to get this database URL, just go to this neon and log in it. If you don't have an account, make sure to create a new account and simply sign into this neon dashboard. Once you are on the dashboard, if you don't have any project, make sure to create one and just open that one. Now on this dashboard you will see the database. Here you will see I created a lot of different database for different applications, but if you want to create one, just click on this create new database, give the database name. Here I will say AI room redesign, and you can select the account, you can keep as it is and simply click create. As soon as you create, within a second you will see the connection string is ready. Just copy this connection string, go back to your application, paste it here inside this .uni.local file and simply save it. Now inside this, after that, let's go back to the Drizzle ORM documentation, and now we need to copy this line of code and we'll go back to this application, and here we'll create a new folder called config. Okay, now inside this config folder we create a new file called index.js, and over here, I think not index, let me rename this to db.js, and we'll paste this line of code. Now make sure to export this db reference. Okay, and then here we need to pass this environment variable key like this, okay, which is next public database URL, and then save it. Now once you export this, it means you can use it throughout the application. Next, if you scroll down, we don't need to pass this one. Okay, we need to create a schema file. So in order to create a schema file, let's create a new file called schema.jsx. You can make it JS, JSX, whatever you want. And over here, we'll say export constant users is equal to pg table. Now schema is nothing but to create a different table along with the column. Okay, and this schema is used to refer inside our application. Now you will see in a moment, but before that, let's create a new table, and you can call name table as a users. Now inside that one, we'll create a different column. Okay, now this is the actual column name into your database, and first I want to ID, and here I will give the type serial, so it will auto generate the ID like 1 2 3 4. Inside that you need to provide the column name called ID, and you can mark it as a primary key. Okay, next thing, we want to add a name as a new column is of type varchar, and again give the column name, and here we'll say not null. Okay, second we'll add email as of type varchar, we'll say email type not null, and the last we'll add let's add image URL of the user's image URL, and here we say image URL. Again I will add it as a not null, and credits as a new field I will add. Okay, and is of type integer from the PG core. Yeah, you have to make sure everything or all the type of the column is importing from this PG core. PG stand for Postgres. Okay, here we'll say credits, and this will also I will make it default to 3. Okay, again this is not null, you can mark it as a not null, but if you make it default 3, you don't need to mark it as a null. Okay, and that's all, and save it. Now once you're ready with this schema, right, we need to update our database, but before that let's go back to the documentation, and you need to set up a drizzle.config.file. Okay, so copy this line of code, just copy from here, and make sure to create a new file called drizzle.config.js. So over here inside the root directory you need to create it. I will mark it as a JS, and then I will copy this line of code, just paste it here. Now don't add this out, we don't really need it, but over here we need to use a database URL. You need to pass database URL over here. So I will just copy this same URL and we'll paste it here. Let's save it, and inside this schema field you need to pass the path of this schema. So here we'll say slash config. So this is the config folder, and inside that we have the schema.js file. Let's save it, and then next step we need to do is to push this schema. Okay, so if I go to the drizzle orm here, this is the command to push your changes. So simply you can add npx drizzle kit push, click enter, and boom, if you see, it's saying pulling schema from database and changes are applied. How cool, right? But if you want to now check whether it's ready or not, you can anytime you can go to this neon dashboard and go to this table section. Okay, now over here make sure to select the correct or appropriate database, and here you will see the new table created called users. On the right hand side you will see this all the column. How cool, right? And that's how, guys, you can create a table and set up a backend for your application. Now another way to access your all the database and table is with the help of drizzle studio. So if I go to the drizzle, and here you have section called studio. Okay, you can run your studio on your local machine as well. So simply you need to type a command npx drizzle kit, and instead of push you just change this to studio, and then your studio now is running on the local drizzle studio. So just open this URL. Okay, see, and boom, you will see the database with the tables called users. Okay, here you obviously whatever the option you will see on the neon, you will also find it over here. Along with that one, you can have option to run SQL query, as well as you can run the drizzle query as well. Here if I click on the schema tab, you will see whatever the schema file we just wrote it, right? That schema file you will see inside this particular section. Okay, perfect. So that's how, guys, you can set up a backend for your application. Now once we start actual developing the application, the at many step obviously we need to interact with the database in order to add a record or fetch a record and want to do multiple operation. That time you will understand much better. Now let's implement the authentication for our application. Now once user come to our app and user want to access the dashboard, we're gonna check if user is authenticated or not. Okay, if user is not authenticated, we are going to redirect user to this login or sign up screen, and through the with the help of Google, email or Facebook authentication, we are going to make sure user authentication to our application. Once user is successfully authenticated, then only we are going to redirect user to the dashboard. If user is already authenticated and coming next time, right after successfully sign in, obviously we will redirect user to the dashboard. So let's go back to our application, and over here first thing I'm going to create a new route called dashboard. So inside this app folder, in order to create a new route, here we add a new file called dashboard, and inside that we'll create a new file called page.jsx, and just add a default template by just typing rfce, which is stand for react function export component. Here I will rename this to dashboard and then save it. Okay, now if I go back to the localhost 3000 slash dashboard, you will see the new route or new path is getting rendered called dashboard. This is how easily with you can create a route with the help of Next.js by just adding a new folder. Okay, now in order to add authentication, we are going to use the clerk authentication. The reason is using this clerk, the most very important thing, it's free to use. Also they provide the predefined UI kit, so you don't need to write all of the bunch of boilerplate code to your application, because clerk is already taking care of that one. And not only that, but they provide a multi-factor authentication, email sign up, SMS authentication, password magic link, a lot of different social authentication and many more. They provide a different kind of features to make sure your application is completely secure. So just simply go to this clerk.com. If you don't have an account, create a new account and simply sign in and redirect it to the dashboard. So once you are on the dashboard here, you can create a new application. If you see, I already created a lot of application with the clerk, but simply create application, give the application name. Here we'll say AI room redesign, and whatever the sign in option you want to enable, you can just enable like this. Okay, so if you want to enable Facebook, just click on it, and here on the right hand side, this is how it will look on your screen. Click create application. Once you create the application, you can select the framework which you want to use, and this is the command in order to use or install the clerk inside your Next.js application, like this. Okay, now I will put the link in the description of the proper documentation of the clerk. So just open that documentation. The link is in the description, just click on it, so you will directly jump on this documentation, which is quite helpful. Now once you import the clerk, just go to the second. Here I will select the appropriate uh, environment variable. So in this case, we just created the AI room redesign. Copy this environment variable keys, go to your folder, and over here inside this .env file, .env.local, and over here we'll paste this to environment key. So one is clerk publisher key and another is client secret key. Right now you are in development mode, but once you are in the production, you can judge these keys. Then the next thing, we need to add this middleware.ts file. So copy this command, copy this file name. I'll create a new file called middleware.js inside the root directory and simply paste this line of code. Okay, now right now all the routes are public, but if you see this particular reference to this clerk middleware, just open this in a new tab, and over here if you scroll down little bit, here you have option called protect routes. Okay, in order to protect route, you need to copy this line of code and just reflect this clerk middleware. Make sure to import this create route matcher. Okay, and currently the dashboard is getting protected. We don't have forum page, so I will remove this one, and the dashboard, and after whatever the sub route or child route of this dashboard is also protected. Okay, and this is the line of code. That's all. You don't need to do anything, and just make sure to save it. Next thing you need to do, let's go back to this main documentation. You need to wrap your application inside this clerk provider. Okay, so copy this clerk provider component and then go to the layout.js file. Over here I will just wrap this clerk provider and make sure to import this clerk provider from this clerk next.js and then save it. Now if I go scroll down little bit, and here you have option called create custom sign up and sign in page. Okay, so right now if I go to this localhost 3000 / dashboard, you will see it's showing this sign in page. That's cool, but over here you will see it is not on our application. It is going to some other domain. Right now, in order to avoid this one, just go back over here and you need to create a custom sign in and sign up page. So just click on this link. Okay, it will redirect you this page. First thing, you need to add this sign up and sign in page. So copy this complete path from the sign up, and then inside this app folder we create a new folder, but the name will start with this inside this circular brace, and add this folder. It just group your all the routing in one folder, and inside that click on new file, paste the all the path which you copied. Make sure to change this to JSX, and boom, it automatically create a folders and the files in a given path. How cool, right? You don't need to create one by one. Copy this content, paste it here. Same thing you need to do it for the sign in page. So I will just copy this one and make sure you are in auth folder, then change it to JSX and simply copy this line of code, paste it here and save it. Okay, next thing, we already added this middleware, don't need to add it anything, just copy this environment variables. I will go to this .env.local file and paste it here. Then next thing, I think that's all is done. And now if I go to this localhost 3000 slash dashboard, and now you will see this sign in UI kit. Now here also you will see the domain is now on our own domain. How cool, right? So that's how guys you can add the sign in page. Now if you want to modify this sign in page, add some styling and all, you can also do that. Let me close all of this tab first and just go to the sign in page. Okay, where right now we just have one component called sign in, but over here you can add a div. Inside that you can add a sign in, and for this div we'll add a class name. We'll say flex, justify center, item to be in the center, and here we'll say height to the screen. So your component will be in the center of the screen. How cool, right? So that's how easily you can modify your page. Now if you want to change the layout of this particular sign in card, that also you can do it. Just go to the clerk and search for the clerk element. Now clerk element is the new functionality which clerk recently introduced, where you can create your own custom sign in and sign up component, and that's very cool feature. You don't need to create your own tags, but clerk is providing their own component tag which help us to build the UI kit much more faster. Okay, if you want to know more about this clerk element, let me know in the comment section. Now over here, if I select the Google account and sign in with that one, you will see now I jump to the dashboard page after successful sign in. How cool, right? Now let's go to this dashboard page. So this is our dashboard page, and over here clerk is provided one component called user button from the clerk.next.js. Make sure to add that one and save it. You will see this beautiful user profile icon. Now if I click on this one, you will see how beautiful it's showing the menu option to manage the account or sign out from the application as well. Now once you sign out from the application, it will go back to the home page, and if I go to this manage account, you will have an option to manage your own account. Okay, now if I go to the sign out, you will see it jump to the home page. Now if I want to log in it again, obviously it will redirect you to the sign in page. Now as soon as user is signed into our application, you have to make sure that user is inserted to our database. If user is new or if user is existing, then we'll check whether this user is already there inside our database or not. Now in order to implement it, first thing we need to do, we are going to create a new file inside the root app folder called provider.jsx or js. Add a default template, and here I will just rename this to capital provider with a capital P. Here from this provider we are going to render the children. Okay, something like this. So here now I'm going to render the children, and inside the layout.js file, here we'll import this provider component, and inside this provider component we are going to render the children. Okay, so right now nothing gonna change. If you see, everything will be same. Okay, the reason that we keep this children or rendering these children through this provider, because we want to keep this layout file on the server side, and whatever the operation you want to make, you can make it on the in the provider file, which can be or which will be in the client side. Now in order to make this provider on the client side, you need to mention at the top as a use as a client. Okay, so use client and save it. Now as soon as user is login, we have to make sure we have verified the user from with our database. So in order to do that, right, we are going to create a new method called constant verify user, and inside that we are going to write logic. So here we'll say verify user. Okay, now this particular method gonna call inside the use effect. Okay, now whenever the user information is available, so here we'll say use user hook from the clerk. Now this user hook we are importing from the clerk Next.js, which will give us the login user information. Okay, if user is login, and that's the reason we are executing this use effect whenever the user is available, only when, or we are going to call this verify user only when the user is available and has some information. Okay, now in order to check that one, let's create a new API, because we are going to make an database call, or we are going to interact with the database on the server side. So inside the app folder, we create a new folder called API, and inside this API folder, in order to create a new endpoint, we'll say verify user as our new endpoint. Okay, and inside that we'll create a route.js. We can make JSX. Okay, now inside here you need to write a new method new asynchronous function called export. Here we'll say async function, give the function name called post, and inside here we'll say request. Okay, now inside this function we are going to accept some of the parameters. So obviously the most important is user parameter, which is equal to await from the request dot json. Now obviously when we make a post API call, we are going to pass a body. In that body we have this user information. Okay, now just go to the just return the response. So here we'll say next response dot json. Here we'll say result, and we'll just return the user. Okay, just to make sure, okay, in some form of JSON, just to make sure we are getting user information, right? Now if I go to this provider, let's make an API call to call this verify user API. Okay, so over here you need to write constant result, not result, here we'll say data result is equal to await. Then in order to make an API call, we are going to use the Axios API call. So make sure to import this Axios HTTP client, which help us to make an HTTP API call. So over here, once you import it, just use await Axios dot post, because this is the post API call, and here API slash verify user API call. Okay, now to this one we need to send a body. So as a all the user information we are going to send as a user, make this as a async, and that's all. Now here we'll just console the log data result dot data. Okay, perfect, and then save it. Let's go back to the browser, and if you see, if I refresh it right now, nothing is happening because we are not signing to our application. Now if I go to the dashboard, if you want to sign in, select the account, and then once you sign in, you will see in the result you will get the user's information. Right now we just pass the user information and returning it from that API call. Okay, now over here, first thing we'll check if user is already exist, okay, into our database. If not, we'll add new user to database. Okay, so over here we'll add a try catch block, exception E. Oh, this one need to be inside this try block. Okay, so first thing, let's say constant is, or we'll say is user exist, or we'll say user info is equal to await db. Now this db reference is we are importing from this config.db from the drizzle orm dot select, because we want to fetch the information. You need to provide the from in the schema name, which is this users from the config slash schema. Okay, and you need to write a condition where clause. Inside the where, we need to make sure the email from the database and our users email is matching. So over here we will say equal to users dot email is matching with our user dot primary email address comma email address. Okay, now this users primary email address dot email address, which we are getting from these users. Okay, and obviously we are passing it from this uh, body of this particular API call. Okay, and then save it. Now over here I will just console the result, call user info, and save it. Okay, now this we will check whether this is returning or something or not, and here we say user, just to make sure that we are getting a result or not. Okay, let's save it and let's go back to your application, and I will just refresh the screen, and we are making this API call, and inside the result obviously nothing is happening. Okay, but this console now is returning inside the terminal because this is on the server side, right? And over here if you see, for the inside the console we have this user, and right now it is empty. It means inside the database we don't have this user. Okay, here we'll write condition call. Let me bring this back, and here we'll say now if user info dot length means it is, if it's empty or user is not available, then we'll save the user information. Okay, so here we'll say await db dot insert a new record in a user schema or user table dot values, and inside the value we need to pass all the value. So first thing we pass the name, which we can get it from the uh, clerk user body. Then the email, obviously email, I will just copy this all of this line as it is. Then we need to pass image URL, which we can get it from the image user's image URL. And then I think that's all, because credit we already or by default we are adding that one. And once it is inserted we need to return something, right? So here we say returning, and inside that we just return the ID of the users. So here we'll say users.id. Okay, perfect. Now once it is successfully written, right, you can just write return next response dot json, but instead of passing this just a ID, we are going to pass the complete response. So here we can just say result as a user only, or we can pass from the result only. Okay, let's try this one. So instead of this written just ID, you can pass the all the users. Okay, whatever the users is inserted, and then we pass this save result, something like this. Maybe it's a first element. Okay, and if user is already exist, okay, then it will just return the next response dot json, and here we'll say result, and what is the, okay, user info, and we'll return it as a user info of first element. Okay, oh, not here, so over here. Okay, now I will remove this return, we'll put it in the cache. Over here we'll say error as a e, and make sure inside the curly braces. Okay, the first element from the user info. So that's how you can check if user is already exist. If not, make sure to add it. If user is already exist, right, obviously it will not go to this if block and it will return the user info result. Let's save it and let's go back to your application, and inside here we'll just check it. And right now if you see, we got the result. Inside the result we have the users result, and inside the user you'll see all the user information is returning back. Now if I go back to the drizzle local studio, let's refresh it, you will see under the user the new record get added. Perfect, right? So that's how guys you can insert a new record or verify user if it's already exist or not. Now right now it's returning as a user, but now if I refresh it, you will see it's returning the result, because now this time from the route it is returning from this return statement, but when it's a new, it's returning from this return statement. So over here I will just use as a user. Okay, so we'll get the proper result to our console or to our API result. Okay, so it will return correct result. Perfect. Now Once the user is verified, we have to save the user information so that you can share it throughout the application, right? You don't need to make an API call every time, because if you see inside this result, we have this credit field which is required in our application. Now, in order to share this information in different component, you can have two options. One, you can pass it from through the props one by one, or you can use the context. Context is very powerful state management library which help us to share your data across a multiple component. So in order to define a context, let's go create a new folder called underscore context, and inside this folder we'll create a new file called user detail context.jsx. Okay, now the reason I created the folder name with the underscore, because we just telling Next.js don't consider this as a route, otherwise Next.js will automatically create this folder as a new route, as you know that, right? Now over here we'll simply create export constant user detail context is equal to create context. Okay, make sure it is importing from the React, and that's how you can create your context, and boom. Now next thing, inside the provider we need to wrap our application inside this context. So here we'll say user detail context dot provider. To this provider we need to pass a default value, and make sure to wrap your application like this. And to this value, obviously I'm going to define a state called user detail comma set user detail is equal to use state. Okay, now let's make it empty. Now this particular state as a default one we are going to pass to our provider, but whenever we have the user information, we'll gonna simply set the user detail as data result data result. Okay, so that we will get only this particular information. Okay, we don't need to console log, so we can just remove that. Okay, and now save it. Now once you use this context, now anywhere throughout the application you can use the context in order to access this user detail information. So that's how guys you can add authentication to your application, save your user to our database so that you can access it into your application. Now let's implement the dashboard for our application. If you see this mockup, we have this header section, and then we have this another section, we can call it as a hello section, welcome section, okay, where we are going to show username and option to redesign the room. And this one is an empty state. Whenever you don't have any room you designed before, right, then you will see the layout like this. But once you have the room created or redesigned before, right, you will see the history over here. Okay, so let's go back to our application. I will close all of this tab for now, and inside the dashboard we are going to create a dashboard layout, okay, which is dedicatedly for this dashboard. So here we'll rename it as a layout, add a default template, and I will just rename this to dashboard layout. Okay, now this particular layout is only dedicated to this particular dashboard. Now through this dashboard we are going to render the children, so I will define something like this. Okay, and then save it. Now inside this layout we are going to add a header. So in order to add a header, we'll create a new component, and inside this dashboard we are creating a new file called underscore components. Now all the related components which is required for dashboard will keep inside this component folder. Now in this case we are going to create this header.jsx. So let's create a new file, add a default template, save it, and inside the layout we will simply import this header, something like this. Okay, now on the screen you will see the header is showing on the screen. Okay, perfect. I will just clean this out because we don't want this anymore. I will just make sure the dashboard is empty, and right now the header is showing on the screen. Now as per the mockup, we want to add a logo on the left hand side. Okay, then the name of the application, and we have option to buy more credits. Here we are going to show the credits, how many credits user available, okay, and the user's image. So in order to add a logo, I'm going to use a placeholder for a logo. So if you see, we have a different placeholder. We'll copy this one. So just click on it and it will copy the svg file. Inside the public folder, we'll create a new public folder. If you don't have, just create a new one, and inside that we'll create a logo.svg. Paste the code which you copied and save it. Now inside the header, we'll simply add image tag from the next/image, add the source property, and here we'll provide the logo.svg. Now Next.js will automatically try to search this particular file inside the public folder. So here you don't need to provide a complete path. Okay. Now inside here we'll provide the width. We'll say, let's say 40, and let's add a height is of 40. Okay. If I save it and let's go back, you will see the logo is appearing on the screen. After this one, we'll add a h2 tag, and inside that we'll say AI room design. We'll add a class name. We'll add a Tailwind CSS property. We'll say font, we want a bold, and then text need to be large. And now if I go, you will see this particular text. Perfect. Now let's bring everything in one line. So I will just wrap this inside one div. So let's cut it from here and add it inside this div. And we'll add a class name, make it flex. Oops. And we'll add a gap of 2, an item to be in the center, something like this. Now for this particular header, for this div, we'll add a class name, and we'll add a padding of 5. Okay, and also we'll add a shadow. Let's add small for now. Okay, so we'll see this line as well. Next thing, we'll add a new div, and inside the div we'll add a right hand side part. The first, we'll add a user button, and if I save it, you will see. So right now this user button is only applicable in a server side, so you have to make this as a client side so that you can access this user button. And if you see, now it's rendering. Now we want this user button on the right hand side, so simply for this class we'll make it flex, justify between, and item to be in the center. See, okay. On the left hand side of this particular profile image, we want to show the number of credits user have. Okay. Now for that one, we'll add a div. Inside the div, we'll add an image source, and we want to use a star image, so that I will get it from the flat icon. So over here, just search for a star. Here you will get a different style. We'll use this one. Just download this PNG file. It's completely free. You will get a free images. Copy this particular file and go back to your public folder. Make sure to import this asset as a star. I will just rename this to star.png. Now in order to access it, you can just access using star.png. Here we'll give width 20, height is of 20. Okay, and now if I go back, you will see the star over here. Okay, along with the star, we want to show how many credits user have, right? Let's say 3. And over here for this div, we'll add a class name, we'll make it flex, and we'll also add a gap of 2. We'll add a padding to 1. We'll make item to be in the center. We'll add little bit background, slate 200, padding x to 3, and we'll make rounded corner full. And this is how something will look like. Now let's bring these two things in one line. So for this div, we'll add a class name, make it flex, gap of 2, item to be in the center. See, perfect, right? So that's how you can show it. Let's give gap of 7, some space. Okay. Now right now we hard coded this number, but we want to show the actual credit size. So in order to get the credit information, you can get it from the context. So you have the user detail context. So first we'll define this user detail. Make sure you are using these curly braces. Then we'll say use context, and then you need to provide the context name, which is user detail context. Now from the user detail you can simply access the credits, and boom, see, it's showing 3 because right now we only have 3 in our database. So if I go to the database, we have 3. Okay, now if I change this to, let's say, 5, and here we'll save the changes, and now if I refresh it, now you will see it will have 5 credits. See, okay, I will again refresh. Perfect. So that's how, guys, you can share the information through the context, right? Now next we want to add one more button. So over here we'll just add a button tag. Okay, and to this button tag we'll just say buy more credits. Now here you have variant. You can give the variant as a ghost, and let's save it, and boom, see, that's how it look like. Okay, now you if you want, you can just round make the corner rounded inside the class name. So over here we'll say rounded full. Okay, and then if you want to make the text primary color, so it will be in the same theme color, something like this. See, perfect. So that's how our header is now ready. Now we are going to implement the another section or another component for this listing part. Okay, so simply go to the component folder, and we're going to create a listing. I don't know what to call, but we'll say listing, and let's add a default template, save it, and inside the page.jsx file, because this is our dashboard light, here I am going to import it as a listing. So here we'll say listing and save it. And if I go back over here, you will see the listing. Now here we are going to add some padding and margin. So simply inside the layout, I will wrap this inside the children, because whatever the route we are going to render through this dashboard layout, for all the route we are going to add same padding and margin. So that's the reason I am putting it inside the layout. Here you can give padding top to 10, padding x to 20, sorry 10. Then on the medium screen size we'll add padding x to 20. On large screen we'll add padding x, which is horizontal padding, to 14, and on the extra large screen we'll add padding x to 60. And if I go back, this is how it will look like. If you want, you can just change this to, let's say, 20, and perfect. Okay, now let's go back to the listing section, and first thing we need to show the user name. So here we'll say constant user is equal to use user hook, and make sure to change this component to client one. Now here we'll say h2 tag, we'll say hello, and the user name. So here we'll say user dot full name, and then save it. Now for this h2 tag we'll add a class name. We'll say font bold text is of 2XL. See, if you want, you can just make this, let's say, 3XL. I think that's much better. Okay, on the right hand side we want to show a button. So over here I will just simply add a button from the component, and here we'll say redesign room. Okay, let's wrap this in one div, something like this, so that we can bring everything in one line. So here we'll say class name flex, item to be in the center, and justify between. Perfect. Okay, so that's how it will look like. Now here I'm going to mention constant user room list, comma set user room list. Okay, Now whenever user created AI room redesign, right, we are going to save in this particular listing, but right now it's a empty, okay, and we need to show the empty state. So over here we are going to add an empty state when the user room is list is not there, or here we'll say length is equal to 0, then we are going to show the empty state, okay. Otherwise we are going to add a simply div with a listing, okay. So in order to show the empty state, so over here we'll add a question mark and we want to show the empty state. So for that one I'm going to add a new component called empty state.jsx, add a default template and save it. Make sure to import this empty state component over here, empty state. Perfect, right? Okay, so maybe I need to remove this one, yeah, and save it. Now right now if you see, empty state is showing because we don't have any listing or any user rooms list, right? Let me format this document as well and save it. Now let's go to this empty state, and inside that we are going to show one image, and right now I call it as a placeholder. I already put it in the public folder, so this is how this placeholder will look like. If you want all this asset, the source code, the link in the description, so you can access it. Now here we'll add an image tag from the next/image. The source here will say placeholder dot png, and we'll say a width. Let's add a width of, let's say, 200 and height of 200. Okay, let's save it and let's see how it look like. See, perfect. Now after this image we'll add a h2 tag and we'll simply say create new AI design or interior design for your room. Okay, let's save it. For this h2 tag we'll add a class name. We'll say font medium, text excel, and text is of gray color, so we'll add a 500 and save it. Perfect, right? Now let's bring everything in one line. Here we'll just add a large, and for this particular div I will add a class name, make it flex, item to be in the center, justify center, margin top to 10, and make sure you will change the flex direction to column, so it will be in one line, something like this. Perfect. After that I'm going to add a button, so here we'll say button which is similar the one which we created, and here we'll again say plus redesign row. Let's add a class name for this one and we'll add simply margin top to 5. Perfect. Okay, and this is your empty state. Now obviously when you comes for very first time, right, you will see this dashboard screen, and obviously you don't have anything created before, so you can just click on this one and start creating. So that's how simple and beautiful our dashboard will look like once you implemented all of this. On the click of this redesigned room, we are going to redirect user to the new screen, a new route called create new. On this route, user actually start uploading the room of the image which he want to redesign. Then he has also an option to select the room type, which is the drop down. Then the room design type, whether he want modern, industrial, and there are different room type that we are going to add along with the images. Okay, so that's the reason I show it as a square, and then the text area in order to add any specification. Now once user click on this generate, then our AI will start working on it to generate the redesign of the given uploaded room. Okay, so this is the complete page in order to create a new room design. So let's go back to our application, and first thing we need to do is to create a new route. So this route will be under this dashboard. So, and we'll call it as a create new. Inside this create new, we'll create page.jsx, and let's add a default template. Here we'll rename this to create new and save it. Now whenever user click on the create the plus design room button, we want to redirect it. So one thing that you can use to redirect it using this link tag, which is importing from the next/link, now which is equivalent to anchor tag inside the HTML. This link as h reference, and here you need to provide the path. So in this case is dashboard create new, and simply I will wrap it like this and then save it. Okay, same thing you need to do for the empty state. So inside the empty state we have this button, right? So I will just wrap it here and make sure to import this link tag as well from the next/link and save it. Now if I go back and let me refresh this once, and if I click on this redesign room, you will see it's redirected to this dashboard create new, which contains this create new text right now. Same thing will happen when you click on this redesign room, it will redirect you to that particular room. Okay, so that's how guys you can redirect from the dashboard to this create new page. Now let's start implementing this create new. So I will let me close all of this tab for now, and let's go to this create new.page.jsx file. Inside this div, we'll first thing we'll add h2 tag, and I will just copy this text called experience the magic of AI modeling as our heading. And for this h2 tag we'll add a class name. We'll make font bold, text is of 3XL, text primary, and text need to be in the center. And if you see the result, this is how it will look like. Let's make this as a 4XL, little bit larger. Perfect. Then we'll add a p tag and we'll add other content. So I will just copy this one. I will put this eraser document list in the description so you can also access it easily. And for this p tag we'll add a class name. We'll make text to be in the center and save it. We'll also make text to be primary, not primary, just gray color like 400, and let's see how it looks on the screen. Perfect. Okay, if you want you can just make it 500, little darker. I think this is much better. Now as per this mockup, on the left hand side we need to show or we need to give option to upload an image. So let's implement that one. So over here I will just add one div. Inside this div, one section will be the image selection or image upload section, and other section will be the form input section. Okay, now for this image selection we are going to create a new component. So inside this create new, we'll create a new folder called underscore component, and all the components which is related to this create new page will keep inside this folder. Inside here we'll simply add image selection .jsx, add a default template, and make sure to import this component inside this create new page. So here we'll say image selection component and save it. Now on the screen you will see this image selection on the left hand side. Okay, now obviously we want the form section on the right hand side, right? So here I will divide this particular div into two parts. So for that one we'll use grid, and we'll just make grid column 1 when the screen size is smaller and grid column 2 when the screen size is medium or larger. We'll also make item to be in the center and justify to be in the center. Okay, and now we have this image selection over here. Let's add some margin top to 10. Perfect. Now we want to our own input or file input, okay, because we want to our own UI. So let's go to this image selection. Now inside here we'll add a label, and we'll simply say select image of your room. Okay, now under this one we'll add a div, and inside this div we'll add an input of type file, okay, and save it. Now if I go back to our application, and here you will see the choose file option, and if I select it, you can have option to choose it, right? But we only want user to select the image and not any other things. Right now if you see this .pdf file also get have option to select it, and we don't want that one. So over here you need to add an accept parameter which will only accept the image is of type or everything. Okay, so that's why I added this accept. Also add a id. This id will require in order to refer to this particular component. Now if I save this one and go back over here, now you have only option to select the images and no other pdf. If you see, it's completely disabled, only image is allowed to select it. Now obviously we don't want this old-fashioned choose file option, so we want to customize it according to our mockup. So let's go back, and over here I'm going to hide this. So I'm going to add a style, and inside this style we'll say display as none, okay, and save it. Now just above this input we'll add a label, okay, and inside this label before that we'll say html for, okay, and we'll give the id of this one. So whenever user click on this particular section, it will automatically refer to this particular input. Now to this label we'll add a div, and inside the div we'll add an image tag, the source, something like this, okay. Now I already have the image for the upload, so it's called image upload.png. We'll give width to 70, height to 70, and if you see, the image is showing on the screen. Let's apply some styling. So for this particular div we'll add a class name. Obviously later on we want to add dynamic one, so you can add it inside the curly braces with this tag. And for now let's add a padding of 28. Then we'll say border rounded XL. Then we'll say border dotted we want, and save it. Let's see how it looks right now. See, perfect. We want this in the center of the screen. Also for this one we will add a class name, margin top to 3, and once you added this border dotted, let's make flex justify center. So right now if you see, it is in the center of the screen. Also we'll add a border is of primary color and background slate of 200. Perfect, something like this. See how beautifully it's looking, right? And we'll make this cursor pointer, so whenever we hover on this one, the pointer will change. See, it's changed to hand. Perfect. Also on hover we'll add a shadow effect, so it will give you some effect, something like this. See, the upload functionality capability, okay, and that's how if I click on it, boom, if you see, it's open the file selection, and that's how modernly or beautifully we update this one, okay. Perfect. Now once we implement this one, we need to write one method which will handle the on selection of the file, okay. So here we'll say on file selected. On file selected we'll write this method. Make sure to define the constant, and which will accept the event, okay. Now this method we're going to attach to this our input. So here we have the on change event, and we'll simply add on file selected, okay. Now over here we'll say console.log event dot files, sorry, event dot target dot files, okay. Now if I select any image, so right now we use this on change method, so we need to make this component and the client side. Perfect. And if I go to the inspect panel and go to the console, and if I select the image, let's select this particular image, and boom, if you see, we got the result, okay. Perfect. Now this information we need to save in one state, so constant file comma set file is equal to use state, okay. And whenever user select the file, we'll simply set inside this event dot target dot files, of 0. Okay, now whenever you select the file, we want to show the preview of this file over here, right? Correct. So simply I'm going to write a condition. If there is a no file, then we'll display this particular image, and once the file is there, we'll show another image tag, and inside that we'll simply need to convert our image to an object URL. So here we'll say url.create object URL, and then you need to pass the file information and just end the close or close the tag. Now to this one we'll add a width and height. So let's add a width of 300, height of 300. Also we'll add also we'll add a class name. Let's save it and let's see first. So if I select this image, and if you see, the image get selected and we are getting the preview, but let's update the width and height. So something like this is getting stretched, that's weird. So let's add here object cover and save it. And if you see over here, something like this. Okay, but we don't want this padding when the image is selected, right? So for that one, conditionally you can remove this condition. So over here I will say in dollar, if file is there, then give the padding to 0. How quickly it is, right? See. Okay, and we'll also change the background to white. Perfect. Okay, so if I select this file, if I select some different file, you will see something like this. Perfect. If you want, you can also stretch it. It's up to you how you want to do it. Okay, so if you see object fill, how it looks like, I think object fill, I don't think so. Cover is much better. It will show the whole view of the image. Okay, and that's all. Now if I refresh this one, it will go to the previous state, and this is how it will look like. But if you select the image, it will come on this particular stage. Now whenever user select the file, we need to send the selected file information to the parent component. Okay, so inside here we'll say set or we can write selected image, and we'll simply pass this particular file information to this parent. So through this prop we can just pass back to the parent component, and here we'll accept as a selected image, and which will return the value, and we're gonna write on handle input change method, which will accept the value and the field name, and here we'll say constant. Okay, now over here we'll just simply call this on handle input change method, which will return the value as value and the field name. So in this case I will say image. Okay, that's it. So it has the value and the field name as well. Oh, something like this. Perfect. Now next thing, once you're done with this image selection, we're gonna add the form section as well. So for the form section, we'll create a new component. So in this form, actually in the form section, right, let's add a div, and first form we want to add, or the first field we want to add, is the room type. Okay, then we want to add the design type or interior type, whatever you want to say. Then we want to add the specification or any additional requirement text area, okay, which will be the optional actually, and the button to generate image. Okay, so these three to four fields we want to add it. So for each of these field we are going to create a component. So let's add a component for the room type .jsx, add a default template and save it, and let's import this room type over here. Okay, now let's go to this room type, and inside this room type we want to add the select method. Okay, so over here we need to make this component as client. Now inside the room type, let's add a drop down and let's go to the chat here and just search for the select component. Okay, so if you see, this is how it will look like. So select the option whatever you want and you will see that option as well as the selected. Copy this npm command and inside the terminal we'll just paste it here. Then in order to use it, you will copy, you need to copy this import statement. Make sure to import it and then copy this example and we'll paste it here. Okay, let's format this document and save it. Now first thing, we'll add a label over here and here we'll say select room type, which is required one. Here I will add a class name text slate. Let's add 400 and if I go back, this is how it will look like. Now it's touching to this particular column. Here we need to give the, let's go to the page.jsx and to this div we'll add a gap of 10. Okay, and let's remove this item to be in the center, justify center, because that's the reason it's coming down. And now I think it's good. Say perfect. Also go to the room time and here we'll add the width to full. The selected value, we'll change this placeholder, we'll say room type as a placeholder and we'll add the different room type. Let's say living room, then we want to add bedroom, we can write in as a one word, that should be good. Then kitchen, everything I will copy as it is for a value. Then we'll say office, bathroom, and if you want to add more you can add it. Okay, later on I will add it, but for now I think we are good on this one. Let's save it, go back, and boom, if you see, if you got these beautiful options as well. Perfect, right? Oh, so I think we need to make sure to update this value as well. See, perfect, and save. Now for this select component, it has a method called on value change and it will return the value which user selected. Okay, now on the select of this value you need to pass the selected value. So here we'll say selected room type and inside here we'll pass the value which user selected. Pass this to the parent component. So inside here we'll get the selected room type as a value and simply we're gonna use this on input handle change, but in this case we'll say room type as a field name and the value as it is. Okay, perfect, and save it. Now let's implement the design type. Now for the design type we want to add a different design first. So let's add a component first. So inside this component folder we'll add a design type.jsx file, add a default template, save it, and make sure to import this over here. So design type. Now under this design type, first before implementing it, we'll need to add a designs. So here we'll say designs and the name of the design will be first, let's say modern. Okay, and here we need to add the equivalent image for that one and then simply give the path. So I added some of the images over here, say modern, minimalistic, industrial type. So simply here we say modern dot png. Okay, and save it. So similar way you can add multiple. So I will just pause the video and I will add the remaining one. Now here I added the remaining designs type. Okay, and obviously you can everything you can access it from the source code. Now once you added this one, we'll simply over here we'll add a label and we'll say room design or room interior design type. We'll say interior design type. Okay, now for that one we'll say style, not style, sorry, the class name, and text is of gray 500 and save it. After that we'll simply add or reiterate the list of designs. So here we'll say designs dot map, we'll say design comma index and the arrow function. Inside that we'll add a div. For this one we'll add a key as a index, and inside this div we'll simply add an image from the next slash image. Here we'll say provide the source, and source will be design dot image. We'll provide the width, let's add 100, and height is of 100 and save it. Now let's go back and see whether we got the data or not. Right now we got one error, so it's saying if you're using relative image, you start with this slash, and we added the dot, I think. Yeah, so just remove these dots because we are just accessing from the local storage, right? From the either local assets, and if you see the image is showing on the screen. Perfect. Now let's bring in a one line in a grid format. So for this div we'll add a grid column 2 when the screen size is smaller, grid column 3 when the screen size is medium, and for large let's try to add grid column 4. We'll add a gap of 5 and save it. Perfect, something like this. See, now for this class name we'll add a height of 200 pixel. Let's see how it look like. Height we need to add like 80 pixel. Perfect, I will make 70. Okay, now let's give some margin from the top for this particular div, and margin top to 3 for from this text, something like this. Okay, we'll add some rounded corner to these particular images. So under the class name we'll simply add a rounded large, we'll make it medium actually, and below that we want to add a text or type of the design. So name we need to provide, so it will be your design dot name. Perfect. Okay, so Bohemian, industrial, and all of these things. Correct. Now whenever I hover on any of this image, you can add a on hover. You can just scale this image to 105, and for smooth animation we'll make transition all, something like this. See, and here we'll make cursor pointer. Okay, now whenever you just select any of this particular image, we need to save, or the design type we need to save that in one state. So here we'll say selected option comma set selected option is equal to use state. Now on this div we'll add a on click event, and here we'll set the selected option as a name of the design. So we'll say design dot name, because we can add the selection active index, right? So here, my bad, here we need to add because we are setting it, right? So set selected option. Perfect. Now whenever the option is selected, we gonna add the border around it, just to show the user, okay, you selected this particular option. So to make it conditional styling, make sure to wrap this in a curly braces, and over here we'll add a condition. If design dot name is matches with the selected option, then we'll simply gonna add a border. So here we'll say border 2, then border is of color primary, we'll make rounded medium and save it. Let's see how it looks. So if you see, I selected this one and then it's getting added. Perfect. If you want to add a margin to 1, let's see how it looks. I think instead of margin we can add a padding to 1, so some space. See, I think we have extra, I don't know, yeah, extra field, so I will remove this one. Oh, so this need to be a minimalist. I also have one minimalist. Perfect. I don't know why this image is broken. I think now we are good, just the spelling mistake. Perfect. And save it. Now whenever I select anything, you will see the selection. Now next thing, we want to give a text area in order to add an extra prompt. But before that, you need to set this selection to this parent component. So I will wrap this in a curly braces, and here I will make another call. Here we'll say this selected design type, and we'll pass design name. Okay, now over here we'll just simply pass selected design type, and make sure inside the parent component, so inside over here you will call this method. So here we'll say value on handle input change, we'll pass the value along with the field name, which is design type. Perfect, right? Now once you're done with this one, the next thing we need to add is the text area. To add an additional requirement, if user want to add something, right, so he can just enter that prompt in that text area. So here we'll say additional requirement.jsx, add a default template, and make sure to import that one. So here we'll say additional requirements. Now inside these additional requirements, we are going to add a text area. So from the chat CN, if you go and search the component called text area, make sure to copy this npm and install it inside your VS Code, and later on you can just use it like a hero. So here we can use text area from the text area component. Before that, we'll add a label. We'll add additional requirements. Here we'll say enter additional requirements, which is optional, and for this we'll add a class name text gray 400, and here for class name margin top to 5. For this text area, we'll add a class name margin top to 3 and save it. Now if I go back, you will see this beautiful text area where user can enter his additional requirement if he has any. Okay, perfect. Now for this one, it has a on change method. Okay, so this on change method will have the event e, and if you want to see, it will get the event, it will write the event dot target dot value, and it will return the input entered value. So go to the inspect, and inside the console, if I write something, you will see it getting console. Okay, now this entered or user input text we want to pass back to the previous component. So here we'll say additional requirement, or here we'll say additional requirement input. I will pass back to the parent component. So it has a value on handle input change, will pass the value and additional requirement as a field name. Perfect, and save it. Okay, and the last but not the least, we want to add a button to generate the image. So in order to add a button, we'll just add it over here. So simply we'll say button component, here we'll say generate. We'll add a class name, we'll say width to be full, margin top to be 5. and boom, if you see how cool and how beautiful this page is looking right now. We also add one text. We'll say a note, and we'll say one credit will use to generate or to redesign your room. Okay, now this p tag has a class name. We'll say text mall, and text is of gray color 400. Perfect. Okay, also you margin bottom, let's say 52, because so that you can able to scroll it freely. Okay, now all of this value we want to save in one state. Okay, and on the click of generate, obviously we want to make an API call to the AI model. But before that, whatever the value and field name which we are passing to this unhandled input change over here, now we need to pass it and save it in one state. So here we'll say define one state called form data comma set form data is equal to use state, and simply over here we'll set the form data with the previous value, and in that one we'll say we are just destructuring the previous value, and whatever the field name we have, we are assigning the value to it. Okay, and that's all. Now if you want to console it, obviously we can console the form data and save it. If I go back, let me refresh this once and go to the inspect panel. Inside the console, here you see, if I select the room type, let's say bedroom, and you can select the type over here, you will see the room type and the design type and everything. Over here don't add this, just we want to add a value. Okay, so make sure that one. So let's select the bedroom, the industrial, and if you see, we got the value in the form data state. Okay, so that's how guys you can design this page simple and clean, and make sure to save this in one state. Now next thing we want to do is to pass all of this user selection to the AI image. Now we are going to generate an AI image from the image which we upload and the option which we selected. Now when the user click on this generate button, right, we are going to save this image first to our database, and for that one we are going to use a Firebase storage. Now this image, once we save in a Firebase storage, here we will get the URL of that image, right? Now that URL we are going to pass to our AI API, okay, which we are getting from the replicate, which will actually convert our uploaded image to redesign or remodel our design. Okay, so that one we are getting from this replicate. After that, once we get the output of that AI API call, which is in the form of URL, that URL will be valid up to 30 to 40 minutes, right? So in that case, we have to save that image to, or we need to convert that image first to a base 64 image, so that we can save it to our Firebase storage. Okay, and once we save it, we'll get the URL over here again with an output which is actual result. Okay, and then we are everything we are going to save to our Drizzle Neon PostgreSQL database. Okay, so that's how the process will be look like. Now first thing we need to do is to set up a Firebase, and we because we want to store all our images, right? So let's do it. So just go to the firebase.google.com, and here if you don't have an account, create a new account. The Firebase is free to use, and most important, you'll get a 5 GB of free storage, very easy to integrate. So if you don't have an account, create a new account, and if you don't have a project, create a new project. I already have some of the project created, so I will use existing one. So over here, make sure you will enable this storage option. Okay, so right now if you see, I have already some of the folders which are inside the storage, but we'll create a new one. First thing, here you can add a new application. Okay, click on this plus sign and select this web. Here you need to give the application name, so we'll add AI redesign. We'll say AI room redesign. Okay, register the app and then it will register to the Firebase. Then we will get this configuration file. So first thing we need to do is to install the Firebase. So let's go back to your VS Code and simply paste this Firebase. So it will install the Firebase to your application, and then you need to copy all of this config, okay, code, and inside this config folder which we already have, inside that I will create a new file called Firebase config.js. Simply paste all the code like this. Okay. Now we will remove this analytics part, we don't want it. Also remove this API key from here and keep it inside this .env.local file. So here I will say next, I will remove this API key for now, next underscore public underscore Firebase API key is equal to, and paste this key. Okay. Now just refer over here using process.env.firebase API key. You can do this for all of them if you want. Now over here we will write export constant storage reference is equal to get storage, and over here you need to pass this application reference. Okay. Now make sure to import get storage over here from Firebase/storage. Okay. So with the help of that storage we will get the reference of the storage and then save it. Now once you export this one, it means you can use it throughout the application. Now it means let's go to the console now over here and let's go to the storage. Now inside the storage we'll create a new folder and we'll call it as a room redesign. Okay, and click enter. So now if you see we have this folder. Inside this folder you can start uploading the file manually as well, but obviously we want to upload it through the Firebase SDK. So let's go back. Now in order to generate the image and process all of this thing together, right, because everything we want to do in one go. So what we can do, we'll create a new API similar like this verify user. So go to this API folder and inside here we create a new folder called redesign room. So here we'll say redesign room, and inside this we'll create a new file called route.jsx. Now here just do export async function post request, and inside that we'll get the request like this. Over here we'll return the next response from the next/server.json, and inside that we'll say result, say hello. Okay, and save it. Now second thing, let's go to the dashboard and inside the create new, inside the page.jsx, right, we already handling the input and we are saving inside the form data. Here we create a new method called generate AI image and then arrow function. Now this generate AI image we're gonna call on the click of this generate button. So here we'll add a on click method and we simply call this generate AI image method. Okay. Now inside that we need to call this particular post request API. So over here we'll say constant result is equal to await axios dot post, because this is a post request, and inside this post request we want to send the form data, right, but before that we'll say slash API slash redesign room. Okay, because this is the API end call or endpoint for this request, right. Here we'll make this as a async, and then the inside the form body will pass the form data. So here we can pass like this only as a form data, because inside the form data we have the room type, room design and file or image as well, right. So all of these things, design type, design room and image, everything will be there. and then once we get the result, we'll just console the result. Okay, let's save it and let's try to make a call. So over here, let me refresh the screen, and I will upload the image. Okay, let's upload some of the image. Room type, you can select the room type. I don't know why it's not getting selected. Let me refresh it again. Now we are good. So let's say bedroom. Here I will upload the image, and if I click generate, right, you will see you got the response, and inside the data you will see the result as a hello. And now before making this call, we need to save our image to the Firebase. So over here I will create a new method called constant save raw image to Firebase, and inside that we're gonna save our image to Firebase. Let's write a code for that one. So here we'll say constant file name is equal to date dot now. So this is just returning us a timestamp which will be the unique every time underscore raw dot png. Okay, then we'll get the image reference is equal to await, not await, but here just a reference. So reference we need to import from the Firebase storage, then the storage reference from the Firebase config, and over here you need to provide the folder name. So in this case, we go back, and this is the room design as our folder name. So I will just copy this and we'll paste it here. You don't need to add this slash, and then you need to provide the file name. So plus file name, I will add it here like this. Okay, after that you need to upload this image reference along with the file. So over here we'll say await upload bytes, and then here we'll pass the image reference along with the file, so which we can get it from the form data dot image. Okay, and if you want to just test whether you are able to successfully upload or not, you can just console this and you can say file uploaded. Okay, now we are using await. Let's make this as a async, and after that once the file is uploaded, you need to get the URL of that image of the file. Okay, uploaded file image URL which you need to get. So in order to get that one, you can say constant download URL is equal to await get download URL from the Firebase storage, and here you need to pass the image reference. Okay, so this image reference you need to pass so that it will get the download URL of that particular image. Once you get everything, just return this download URL. I will also console over here, okay, inside the inspect panel, so we'll get to know whether we got the URL or not. Okay, once you return this download URL, you just need to call over here. So here we'll say constant raw image URL is equal to, oops, sorry, here we'll say await save raw image to Firebase. Okay, and that's all, because from the form data which we already have, we are already storing this image, so we directly access from here. Okay, let's test this out and we'll see. If you don't want to make this call, you can just comment this out, and over here we'll check whether we got the image URL or not. Let's go back to your application. Let me refresh this once. I will upload the image, select the room type, select this one as well, and then click generate. Now right now it's uploading, and if you see, it's saying file uploaded and we got the URL. If I open this one and boom, if you see, this particular URL is rendering or getting from the Firebase storage only, and this is the URL which we just uploaded. See, okay, so that's how guys you can upload the Firebase, upload the image to the Firebase. Now right now you might see or wonder, we are not showing the any kind of loading, right? We don't know whether it's really uploading or not, right? So that also you can implement it, but we will implement it later on once we add all of this line of code. Now once we get this URL, this URL we need to pass over here. So inside this design room, we make this API call over here. Instead of form data, we'll pass as a image. Let me bring this down, and here we'll say image URL as raw image URL. Then we'll pass a room type as form data dot, and let me get that name of the room type and design type. Okay, perfect. We'll say room type and the design type as form data dot design type, and the last we also have the additional requirement as another field that also we can pass. Perfect. Okay, so all of this information now we have. Let's save it, and now once we pass this information to the route, we need to get that one. So over here we'll say constant image URL, then we are just destructuring it, okay, so that we can directly use it. Room type, then design type, and then additional requirement is equal to await request dot json. Okay, so this is how you can destructure all the fields and whatever field you pass into this body. Now next thing we need to do is to convert the image to AI image. So okay, and then we need to convert our output URL to base64 image, and that base64 image we need to upload to the Firebase, and then everything we are going to save it. Now in order to convert our image to or redesign our image to a new model, right, we are going to use the replicate. So replicate is a very big source of AI APIs, okay, and you can run on your own as well, and it only charge you what you use it. Okay, now you might wonder how much you get the charge and everything. I'm going to explain in a moment, but first thing, if you don't have an account, let's create a new free account on this replicate.com. I will just click on get started. I already have account. Once you land on this one, you will see the dashboard like this. Inside the dashboard, you will go to this account setting. Over here you need to add the billing section, okay, but also along with that one you will see this API token, okay, that we also want to use it. Now on this one you will see this explore option. In this section you will see a bunch of different kind of AI model, okay. The Flux, which is very quite popular nowadays, we generate the AI model, but here you will see a lot of AI model. If you want to learn more about the this kind of AI model in our web and mobile application, you can watch my all the previous video which I use, which I made it with the help of this replicate. Now the one which you want to use, just search for the uh, interior, I think so, interior design. Okay, see this and now this particular model which we are going to use, and if you see, you need to pass this input and it will generate a beautiful output for you. Okay, you can also pass the prompt or detailed prompt whatever you want, and there are some parameters as well. Now coming to the cost and everything, right, if you see the cost of this particular model, within $1 you can generate up to 133 images, okay, which is a quite a large, okay, you don't need to spend a lot of money, and for each of the image you can just spend a 0.0075 dollar, which is I think less than a rupees in the form if talking about the Indian rupees. But yeah, it is in paisa and it's quite cheap, okay, but you can see other model, every model has a different price tag, okay, so that's how it works. Now in order to use this model, let's go to this API section. Inside the API you have to select Node.js, and this is the line of code you are going to use in order to generate the image. First thing you need to do is to install this replicate SDK. So let's go over here and just paste it this replicate for you, and if you see it is installed very quickly. Then you need to import the replicate. So just copy this import statement, and inside our API we'll just paste it. Next you need to define this replicate, so I will just import it over here, and inside the replicate you need to provide the auth field. Inside this auth field you need to pass the API key. Okay, now this API key you can directly get it from here, it's already there, right? So I will just import this one inside this .env.local file. Okay, I will paste it here. Instead of this export, we'll say next underscore public underscore replicate API key. Copy this API key environment variable so that we can use it over here, something like this. Okay, and now your replicate reference is ready to use it. Now first thing, if you see, we need to pass the input and this is the output section. So let's copy all of this line and just paste it here. Okay, we'll add a try catch block actually. I will paste over here and we'll say catch exception E. Perfect. Okay, now if you see in the image, right, we need to pass the image URL, which is our image URL. So that's the reason I will remove this one and I will pass our image URL. Now for the prompt, we are going to pass our own prompt and we are going to generate. So here we will say room type. Okay, here we are going to pass room type with, so here we'll give some space, with design type. Okay, and then we'll say style interior. Okay, now what we are doing, room type, let's say you select the bedroom. So here will be a bedroom with a modern style interior. Okay, so this is our simple and clean prompt, but if you want to add more prompt, you can add that one as well. Now if you have additional requirement, you can just add it over here. Okay, if you have any, and that's all. And this is your image along with the prompt is now ready. Next thing, if you see inside the output, we are calling this replicate dot run. Now this replicate we already defined over here, and this is the API model name along with, so this is the API model name actually, and this is the version of that API model. Okay, this is very important, and then once it's run, you'll get the output as well. Perfect, right? Now for now what I will do, I will just return this particular output. So I will just cut it from here and we'll paste, and instead of hello we'll say the output. Also over here in the next response we'll say error and save it. Okay, now guys, this is very important, one more change we need to do. So go to this package.json file and search for the dependency called replicate. Over here you need to change this version. Okay, so with the latest version there are some modification which is not correctly working. So over here you need to put 0.33.0. okay, the I think this is the version from the last week, and this week they changed little bit. Now let's save this one. Okay, that's this big change we need to do it, and that's all. Now let's try this out and we'll see whether it's generating the image or not. So what I will do, let's go back to the application, let's refresh this once and let's upload the image. Oh sorry, let's upload the image. So over here I will upload this blank image. Here we'll say let's make this office. I want a modern structure, so I select the modern and simply click generate. Now first thing, obviously if you see it's generated or it uploaded the Firebase storage, means it's connected to Firebase storage, and right now redesign room is in the pending status, right, because it's generating the image for us. Obviously we are going to add the loading kind of effect, so you will get to know whether it's generating or not, but right now let's see and we'll wait for to complete this API call. So right now we got the is completed actually. Okay, and we got the result. See, right now result is coming as empty because inside the console the output will be in the form of readable stream. Okay, and that's the reason we change this version to 0.33. Okay, but we forgot to install. Let me come top this application, make sure to install it as well. Okay, because you change the version of this dependency, you have to make sure you will install this new dependency or version change dependency. Okay, now I just install it and now it's time to run the application. Okay, so now let's try it again. So I will just click and upload again. Okay, or let me refresh this and let's upload the image. Select the room type, modern I selected, and click generate. Okay, now if you see, it will generate your image with the correct output URL. And if you see, our API endpoint is completed. If I click it and inside this preview, you will see the result. Inside the console as well, you saw the result. If I open this URL, Let me open this URL. So I will open this URL. Let me remove this quote and click enter, and boom, if you see, our AI model is restructure or remodel the room for us in the form of office. How cool it is, right? And that's how, guys, you can generate or use this, what we call AI model, to remodel your room. How cool, right? So that's how, guys, you can do it. Now, as I say, once you generate the output from the AI model, we need to convert this into base image URL. Now, I don't want to make unnecessary call. So what I will do, I will just come in this line of code, okay, and over here I will add the constant output. So here we'll say output is equal to this particular URL, okay, which we got it from the replicate. Now this URL is only stay longer for an 30 to 40 minutes. So that's the reason we need to store in our storage, okay, before it vanish. So now let's convert this output URL, this URL, to a base64 image. Now in order to convert this base64 image, we are going to create a new method called constant. Here we'll say, sorry, async function convert image to base 64, and here we are going to accept the image URL, something like this, okay. So here we'll say constant response is equal to await axios dot get, and inside that we'll pass the image URL, but here we going to pass the response type as array buffer, okay. Now once we got this one, so here we say base 64 image raw is equal to buffer. So here we say buffer dot from, and then we'll pass response dot data, and we'll convert it into a toString in the form of base 64, okay. So this raw base 64 image, we got it. Now we'll just simply return this one, but we need to make sure the format of this base 64 will be the correct. So here you need to pass data image slash png. You need to attach this format at very initial base 64 comma, and then you need to add this base 64 image raw, something like this, okay. So you need to attach this line of code for the base 64 image. Now once you done this one, let's call this method over here. So here we'll say constant base 64 image URL is equal to await, pass call this method, and here we are going to pass the URL, okay. This URL, obviously we are going to use it to convert into base 64 image. Now once we get this one, we need to save this obviously to the Firebase. Now in order to save this one, we'll need to create the file name first, which is equal to date dot now, and over here, okay, let's create similar way dot png, then we'll call constant storage reference is equal to reference dot storage, and then we need to get this room design. I will copy this exact thing one because this is the folder name, and then the file name, okay, something like this. That's all. Next, we need to write await upload string and not a byte, because we are passing the base 64 image, right? Here we'll say storage reference, sorry, the storage reference comma base 64 image. So this need to base 64 image only, not URL. So base 64 image, you can give any constant name, but they're meaningful. And then the type I will pass as a data URL, okay, something like this. And now obviously we need to get the download URL. So here we'll say constant download URL is equal to await get get download URL, and then here we need to pass the storage reference, something like this, okay. And I will just console the download URL as well. Now let's return this one. So next response dot JSON, and here I'm going to pass it as a result download URL. How simple it is, right? Let's save it and let's test this out. So I will keep everything as it is, but let's click generate, and boom, if you see, this particular URL is now saved and we got the result. And let me copy this one and paste it here. Okay, so we got this invalid URL. Okay, so I copy invalid URL actually. Yeah, this one I need to copy. My bad. So let me remove this code and click enter, and boom, this is the image we just generated, and we save it to the Firebase. If I go to the Firebase, let me refresh it. Obviously we have saved a couple of them, and if you did the latest one we saved, I don't know which one the latest one. This is the just a raw image. Okay, yeah, this one is the latest one which we just saved. See, okay, so that's how, guys, we also save our image to the base 64 image, because here we already converted and we save it. And the last thing we need to do is to save everything to the database. Now once this image is saved to a Firebase, as I told you, we need to save everything to a database. So let's write that code for so I will just comment this out, and over here we'll say constant db result is equal to await, then db reference we need to get dot insert, and over here we need to insert the data. But the question is in which table we want to insert, right? So for that one, let's go open this schema.js, and right now we need to create a new table. So over here we'll say export constant AI image, AI generated image, we can say AI generated image and is equal to pg table. Here you need to give the table name. So here we will say AI generated image, and then we need to add the column name. So id will be the serial with a column name id, which is the primary key and is auto generated. Then we need to write the room type is of type varchar. Then we'll pass the column name as room type, which will be the not null. So we'll mention not null. Then design type is of varchar, and again we need to write the column name as a design type, which is not null. And then we need to pass the if additional requirement, you can write it or you can just leave that one as well. But the most important thing, you need to write image URL, okay, or we'll say raw image or original image, we can say original image varchar as original image dot not null, and then we'll say AI image or output image is of type varchar again, and here the column name will be the AI image dot not null. And most important thing here, we need to pass the user's email. So user email, those who created this particular image, right? So it's in the form of varchar. Here we'll say user email again, which is again not null. Okay, and that's all, and let's save it. For now I will just remove this not null from here. Now once you created this schema, right, you need to update it. So let's stop this studio, and here you need to again run this diesel kit push, and once you push, you will see the changes are applied. Now run the local studio. Let's open it and let's see whether this new table is created or not. And if you see, we have this new table called AI generated image. Perfect, right? Now to this AI generated image, we want to save our record. So over here inside this route, we have the db insert. Here we'll say AI generated image from the schema dot values, and inside the value we'll add the room type as a room type, then design type as design type, then the original image. The original image is nothing but the this image URL, Okay, so this image URL pass, and then AI image is nothing but the this download URL we wanna pass. Okay, now in order to pass the user email, so here we'll say user email, and you can simply get it from constant user is equal to use user from the clerk next hook, and here we'll simply refer as user dot primary email address dot email address. Perfect. And here we'll say returning the ID of the inserted record, so will be the AI generated image dot ID. Okay, perfect. And in the returning the response, let me copy this existing, and over here we'll simply pass db result of dot id, or you can pass just for now the db result, and we'll see what we get it. So I will just console this as a db result. Okay, now still remember we are just passing this the replicate url, because we know this particular code line of code is already generating, and we don't want to spend the money right the small cost, but that's the reason. Just want to, for the testing purpose, we are just executing like this. Now let's go back and try to reload the page. I will select some image and simply click generate. Now obviously okay, so we got one error. So let's see what's the issue inside the console. So if you scroll down inside the console, we'll see the error response as well. So right now it's saying the clerk is not a function. Okay, so user has some issue. So this one is not working as expected. For now, let's uncomment this one. Okay, and over here I'm gonna pass the empty value. Okay, and save it, and let's test this out. So I just run it, and if you see, we got the result, and inside the result, in the first element, we will get the ID of the inserted record. Now over here, if I refresh it, you will see the new record is inserted with the room type, the design type, the original image. Let's open this original image, which is this one, and this is the AI image, which is this one. See, it automatically convert into the specific model. How cool, right? So that's how you can save it. Obviously you need to get this user email. Let me tell you the another way that you can get the users information. So over here you can also pass the user email from user dot, I think we don't have, let's get that one. So over here we'll say constant user is equal to use user, and over here you just pass this user information. So here we'll say primary email address dot email address. That's all. Okay, perfect, and save it. Now inside the route we also get the user email, so we'll destructure it from here, and so that we can use over here. Okay, now if I save it and if I try this again, so if I try to generate it, first it uploaded to a Firebase, and then it's uploaded, but we got one error. Okay, so we have an error saying this is the null value, so it's not getting inserted. Let me refresh and we'll try it again. So let me upload this one, the room type, select the interior design type, and then click simply generate. Now once it's generated, it will save to our database, and if you see inside the result, we got the ID as a 3. Now make sure you will return the db result of 0, so you will get the only this ID, okay, and not the array of list. Now over here if I refresh the screen, you will see we got the email address and the original and AI image as well. So that's how guys you can save the result to our database. Now next thing you need to do is to add the loading effect, so you will get to know whether it's loading and making some API call in the background. Okay, so in that meantime we will show some kind of loading, and then we will show the output of the image with the original image along with the AI generated image. Now let's display the custom loading indicator. Whenever we click generate, we are making some server side operation, and in that meantime we want to show the loading. So for that one we are going to use a Shatsion component called alert, because we are making our own custom loading. Okay, so over here we'll use this alert dialog. Okay, and if I open this one, this is how it will look like. So first thing you need to do to install this component, so copy this npm command inside your VS Code, just paste it inside the terminal, and then copy this npm the import statement. Now for in order to create this custom loader, inside this create new component folder, we'll create a new file called custom loading.jsx. Add a default template, and inside that we'll paste this import statement. After this we'll copy this example code. Okay, so I don't think so it's imported, it's saying okay, that's fine I think, and simply paste it here. Okay, now we don't want this trigger, so I will remove this trigger. Also we don't want the header section, not a header, but actually we can remove all of these things and we'll just keep the content. Okay, so I will remove this header, I don't want this footer as well, so we'll remove the footer. I will just format this one, and then simply inside here we'll display a div, and inside div we'll add a image tag. Okay, from the next slash image we'll add a source. Now I already added the loading.gif file, and this is how it will look like, see. Okay, so that we will use it to in order to show a loading indicator. So in order to access it, you can just add loading.gif. Here we'll say alt tag as a loading, then we'll give a width 100, height is of 100. Okay, and for this particular div we'll add a class name, we'll make sure to background it white, make it flex column, we'll make item to be in the center, we'll add margin y to 10, and we'll make justify center as well. Now if I save it, right, currently nothing will happen, okay, because we did not imported this component yet. Now in order to trigger this alert dialog, right, in order to open this one, we'll pass this open property to this one, and over here we'll say for example loading. Now we'll accept the prop called loading, and whenever you or wherever you want to use this custom loading, just import it. So inside this page.jsx we want to use it, so simply I will paste this custom loading indicator like this, and inside here we'll pass the loading value. Okay, let's pass it as a true by default, and let's save it, and let's say what we are getting on the screen, and boom, if you see we have this beautiful loading showing on the screen, right? Now here you can also write some message, so let's add here, we'll say redesigning your room, do not refresh. Okay, and save it, so it will display that as well on the screen. Perfect. But this loading indicator we only want to show when there is a server side API call is happening, right? So simply to this loading indicator we are going to maintain one state called constant loading comma set loading is equal to use state. Okay, and initially we'll make this as a false. Now whenever the image is start generating, so here we'll say set loading as a true, and once everything is done, here we'll set the loading as a false. Obviously we want to save the information in one state, so over here because once we got the result, right, we want to save in a state, so here we'll say constant output result comma set output result is equal to use state, and simply here I will set the output result as result dot we'll say data dot result. Okay, because inside the result we have the information. Obviously we will change this in a moment. Okay, here I'll add will change. Okay, but right now our focus is this showing the loading, and I think over here we need to pass loading. Okay, so that's loading, we are passing to custom loading, everything is done, then obviously it will stop loader. Let's test this out. So I will refresh the screen once, then we'll upload the image. Let's upload this image. So this image is already AI generated, I think. Yeah, here we'll select the room type, let's say bathroom, and we'll add a modern type of bathroom and simply click generate. As soon as you click generate, you will see this beautiful indicator, and boom, it's once it's generated, the indicator is gone. Now, once the AI image is generated, we are going to show a dialog. On this dialog, we are going to show an original image as well as AI generated image, and you will see the slider which you can move left to right to see the complete original image and AI generated image. And then we have close button for to close the dialog. Okay, simple and very clean. And for that one, we are going to use uh, this one library called react before after slider component. And if you see this example, right, on the left you will see the old image, on the right you will see the AI generated image. So that's the reason we are going to use this component. So copy this npm command and go back to your application in VS Code and just paste it here. Now, before moving forward inside this route.js for this redesigned room endpoint, currently we are returning the result. It means inserted ID we are returning. Okay, so instead of that one, we gonna simply return the download URL, which is the URL AI generated image URL which we save inside the Firebase. That image URL I just save it. Okay, and I'm passing returning that image as a to our main API endpoint call. Okay, now let's go to this page.jsx file, and first thing we're gonna save that. So here we'll say constant AI output comma set AI output, okay, is equal to use state, and here AI output image I will say, just little bit meaningful. And whenever we got the result, okay, here we got the result. Okay, we already save it as output result. I will just comment this out, okay, because I want to save it as a set AI output image, and that in that one we will just add it as a result dot data dot result, which is this output image URL. Okay, now once we save this one, we are also going to set one new state called constant open output dialog comma set open output dialog is equal to use state, and initially it will be false. Now whenever the image output is generated, we are going to set that AI set open output dialog as a true, okay, because we want to show that one. Now we don't have that component, we are going to create a component, but we going to create inside the dashboard component. Okay, so inside the dashboard we have this underscore component, and in that we'll create that file because we want to use that component in dashboard screen as well. Here we'll say AI output dialog dot jsx, add a default template and save it. Now it will accept couple of things. The most important, open AI output dialog or open dialog I will say. Okay, just simple. And over here we want to use this alert dialog, the similar one which we use for the loading. So let's copy this import statement and paste it here, and then copy this example code and we'll paste it here. So over here we don't need this trigger, so I will remove this trigger. Then here I will say only the result. Okay, we don't want any description, so I will remove that one. We'll also don't want footer, so we'll remove that one too. And over here the first thing we need to show, or we want to add that component, so we'll use this component. Okay, and if you see this component, the first image is provided, but for the first image we have the object called object, inside that we have the image URL. Okay, you have to make sure when you pass the URL of the image, you will pass it as inside the field called image URL. Okay, now we have first image and the second image which we want to pass, and after that we want to add a button. Here we'll just say close. Now make sure to import this So I will just copy this CSS as well along with the import for that component, just paste it here, and then this open dialog we're gonna pass over here. So whenever user click on open, we'll pass this open dialog. Okay, also whenever the user click on close, right, here we'll just say close dialog and we'll call as a false. Okay, and this one will pass over here. Now let's import this component over here. So here we'll say AI output dialog. To this AI output dialog we need to pass open dialog as a open output dialog, and close dialog. To this close dialog we'll simply set the open output dialog to false. Okay, so it would automatically close this one. Also we want to pass original image URL, and then we want to pass AI image URL. Okay, now for the original image URL, if I go up little bit here, yeah, we are getting this download URL, right, that we need to save in one state. So let's create one state called original image comma set original image is equal to use state, and over here whenever we save the that original image to a database or in a Firebase storage, we'll set the original image over here. So over here I will just pass original image and AI image, and over here now we'll say original image, over here we'll say AI output image. Okay, now save this one, go to the custom loading and accept it here, original image comma AI image. Now inside out, oh not here, my bad, not in this component, definitely we want to pass in AI output dialog component, and so we added it over here. Now inside the first image we're gonna pass image URL, and we'll pass AI image, and for the second we'll pass image URL as original image. Okay, and that's all, and then save it. Now you have to make sure this open dialog we are setting it as a true whenever the image is generated. Okay, perfect. Let's save it and let's test this out. So I will close all of this, I will refresh the screen, we'll upload the image, then you can select the room type. Let me get some different room now. So now I will select this one, open it, this is how it will look like. You can select the room type and select which kind of, let's select the traditional, and simply click generate, and we'll wait now. And boom, if you see, we have this beautiful section, and I can able to scroll this one. You will see on the left you have old image, and on the right you will see this beautiful traditional style image. How cool, right? And this image is obviously generated with the help of AI only. You will see all the section as it is, just they redesign it according to the AI model. How cool, right? So that's how guys you can implement it. Now you can obviously extend the size of this dialog, and on the close, if I close this one, boom, it get closed immediately. How cool, right? And inside our database we have the result of that one too. So if you see, we have the result with the original image, AI image with the room type, and who created that one. So that's how easily guys you can generate the image and show the output in one of the best modern way, because this particular kind of library which help us to show the old image and the new image, which will define your image in two distinct part. Now we are going to show the all the room user created on his dashboard, because we already have the all the list of record which user created, and only need to show it on the dashboard screen, because we already have the empty screen state if user is come for a first time, right? And once user have some record or the room which he designed, then we can display it on the dashboard. Let's go back to our application. Let me close all of this tab, and let's go to the dashboards page.jsx file. Okay, currently inside this listing, let's go to this listing. We have this empty state, and here we not need to show the all the listing. So let's create a new method called constant get user uh, room list, we can say, and then arrow function. Here inside that we need to get the all the list, right? So here we'll say await db dot select dot from, and in that one we need to provide I think generated image schema name, yeah. And but here we need to pass the where clause. Okay, now inside that we'll pass equal to, and we'll say um, ai generated image dot user email comma and user dot primary email address that we need to pass, right? We got this user information we are already getting. Now make this as a async, and then we'll just console it. So here we'll say console result, I think that's only we want, and then save it. Okay, now this particular method we need to call inside the use effect whenever the user information is available, and save. Okay, perfect. Now let's do one thing, let's test this out first. Okay, so let's go over here and let's go to the jump to the dashboard. Inside the inspect panel we are supposed to get the list of user, and boom, if you see we got the 5 records. Perfect. Now save this record in this room list state. So here we'll say set user room list, and in that we'll set the result. Now if I save this one and refresh this screen, and you will see you don't we are not displaying the empty state anymore, because we already have the AI generated, sorry, we already have the data inside this user room list, and that's the reason it will jump to this div block. Perfect. Now let's go over here and just iterate that list of all the information. So over here I will just say user, oh, what is this field name called user room list. Okay, so this will be the user room list dot map. Here we'll say room comma index and the arrow function. Now inside here we'll create a new component, we'll call room design output dot jsx, or we'll say room design card dot jsx. Add a default template and save it, and this particular component we gonna use it inside this map. Okay, here we'll pass key as index and save it. So if you see on the screen we are getting iterating this room design multiple times, or 5 times it means, because we have the 5 record inside here, right? Now to this room design card we'll pass the room information, means each item we are going to pass to this particular component, we'll accept it here as a room, and over here we need to display it. So either you can display image, original image, or the AI generated image, or you can use this component again. Okay, so I will use this component and let's see how it looks. So I will import it first, and then I will copy this component over here. Okay, now inside here you need to pass the original image, an AI image. So here we'll say image URL room dot AI image. I will just make sure the column name, which is AI image. Perfect. And then the second image, which is image URL, which will be the room dot original image. Perfect. Okay, and let's save it. Now if I go back to our application, if you see we got all the list. Perfect, right? But over here this is not look good, right? We need to display in the form of grid. So if I go to the listing over here for this div, we'll add a class name, and not here, but let's do one thing. Let's add over here, we'll add a new div, and to this div I will add a class name. We'll make it grid column 2 when the screen size is smaller, grid column 3 when the screen size is medium, and on last screen we'll make grid column 4 and save it. And this is how it will look like. I think that's a little bit congested. Make medium on 2, and this will be on 3, and save it. I think this is much better. Okay, and for the, if you see, for each of them you can able to move it perfect. But obviously we need to adjust the width and height for that one. For this grid also we'll add a gap of 10, and now go to this room design card. And now once we done with this one, we need to adjust the size. So simply let's go to this global CSS, and over here just paste this line of code where this is the class name, which is before after slider, the image. Okay, we don't need a border radius, but here need to put the height and max height. Okay, and save it. As soon as you save it, you will see now it is aligned in one height. Okay, perfect. Now quick couple of things I'm going to update over here. So I will go to the listing over here. Let's add a class name, margin top to 10, and over here we'll add the h2 tag. Here we'll say uh, room space, we can say, or your room area, we'll say room studio. Okay, that's will be good. AI room studio, I will add a class name, we'll make font medium and text primary. Okay, and we'll make text large as well, and then save it. So this is how it will look like. We'll make text excel, as well as we'll give margin bottom to 10. Okay, so some space between this one, and perfect. If you see, we have AI room studio, and that's where we are showing this one. Now below this you can also show some information. Okay, so over here I will add a, not here but inside this room design card, we can add a h2 tag. Before that we'll add a div tag, and inside that we'll add h2 tag, and over here we'll say um, a type of the design, room type and design type. Okay, so we'll add 2 h2 tag. Over here we say room dot room type and room dot design type. Okay, if I save this one, let me save this one as well, and if you see, we got this one. Okay, I will add the emoji icon for this one, and boom, if you see, I added this emoji. I just pasted here. You can add different type of if you want, and we'll give some padding here. So not 10, let's go a 4. I think that's pretty good. And for this complete div, we'll add a class name. Let's try to add shadow, and we'll see how it looks on the screen. I think that's pretty good. If I, let's make this rounded corner. I think it is rounded at the bottom. I think that's good. And here we'll say room type. Okay, and design type. Perfect. Okay, if you want to make some changes, you can make that one too. So that's how, guys, you can easily display your information. Now currently it is not clickable. Okay, but if you want to make this clickable, you can just add here on click, and you can add make on click handler. Okay, and I will just add a constant on click handler over here, something like this. Okay, now we'll make this as a cursor pointer, so whenever you hover on this one you will see the cursor. Perfect. Now on the click of this one we want to show the dialog. Okay, so let's import that dialog first. So over here let's try to import in this component. We'll see, so here we'll say AI output dialog. Now to this AI output dialog we need to provide the AI image. So we have room.ai image, then we need to pass the original image, which you can get it from the room.original image. Then you can pass the close dialog, uh, which we are going to do in a moment, and we have open dialog, that one also we are going to do. So over here on the click of handler we need to maintain one state constant. We'll say open dialog comma set open dialog is equal to use state, and initially it will be false, and whenever user click on this one we'll set the open dialog as a true. Okay, now on the open dialog we'll pass open dialog, and on the close of dialog we'll set the open dialog as false. Now on the click of this buy more credits, we are giving option to user to buy more credits for him. Currently we have only 5 credits, and on the click of this buy more credits, I created new route called buy credits, and on this screen I just added the option to buy the different kind of credits, right? Means user can buy 5 credits, 10 up to 100 credits, and below that we added the pricing as well. So if you want to refer the source code of this particular page, it's quite easy, and you will get it inside the source code, the link in the description. So first thing, I just added this credit option and the credits along with the amount for that one, and I added one state which will hold the selected option. Okay, this is just simple text, and I iterate this credit option and added the grid as well. Okay, depends on the screen size, and we have the conditional option where if the option is selected, we are just adding the border as a primary, and then simple options. Okay, nothing magical over here. And if I click on this one, for example, if I select this one, you will see this border. Okay, simple and clean page. Now we are going to integrate the payment gateway for this particular screen, and for that one we are going to use a PayPal's payment gateway. The reason that we are using PayPal is because it's available worldwide, and second important, free to use, and very easy to integrate as well. Okay, so just go to this developer.paypal.com and just log in or create a new account if you don't have an account. Here currently I'm on the sandbox mode, but once you are a registered business, or if you want to make this live, you just switch to this live section as well. Okay, but right now for the development purpose, I'm going to use the sandbox mode. Okay, now once you are here, you might have need to create a new application. Okay, so currently I already have application created, so I will just jump to this API credential. Here you will see this option to create an application. Okay, but right now I will use my default application, and over here you need this client ID. Okay, but now in order to integrate this PayPal, we are going to use this PayPal React library. Okay, and just copy this npm command, go back to your VS Code, and inside here, let me clear this one first. I will paste this React PayPal, okay, library. Now once you install, you need to wrap your application inside this PayPal script provider. So copy this component for now and simply jump to the provider. Okay, so we have this provider.js. Over here I will simply wrap our application like this. Okay, and make sure to import this PayPal script provider. So make sure to import that one, and inside the client ID we are going to provide actual client ID. So go to the .env.local file, and inside here we are going to add next underscore public underscore PayPal client ID is equal to, and then simply you can get this client ID from the PayPal dashboard. Okay, so I will just copy this client ID and I will paste it here and save it. Okay, now once you use it, you have over here, you just need to access using process.env dot, and I will just copy this environment variable name and I will paste it here. Okay, so that's how you can provide the client ID to this PayPal script provider and save it. Okay, now this is done. Now let's go to this page.jsx file, and below to this div, because we are showing the option for the credits, right? So below this one we are going to show the options, the payment option. So over here I'm going to write a condition. So let's add a div, and here we'll write a condition if selected option dot amount. Okay, if it's there, then only I am going to show the payment option. Okay, so over here if I go to this library, you just need to add this PayPal button, something like this. Okay, and I will paste it here. Make sure to import this PayPal button. You can change this layout to vertical if you want. I will keep the horizontal. For this div I will add a class name, margin top to let's say 20, and save it. Okay, and let's go back to our application. Now right now if you see none of the option is selected, but if I select the any of the option and boom, if you see we got the option for a PayPal. Perfect, right? Now you have option over here. If I click on this PayPal, everything is there. See, you have option that you can pay with the PayPal, or also you have option to pay with the debit or credit card without creating an PayPal account. Okay, if I click on this one, you will see that you will jump on this particular page with the amount and everything. Right now the amount is showing at 0.001 because we did not provide the actual amount yet. Okay, but in a moment we will do that as well, and once the everything is all the details are filled, you can able to pay it. That's how easily that you can integrate. Okay, but now let's customize it little bit. Now in order to make a payment, first thing you need to do is to create an order. Okay, or you have to create a new order inside with the help of this button. So simply it has a property called create order. Okay, and inside that we'll say data comma action and the arrow function. Now inside here we'll say purchase underscore units. I think we have to write like this, and inside that we'll write, I think my bad, over here we need to write first return actions dot order dot create, and inside here we will write it. Okay, if you don't want to add that, you can remove this, and once inside the create we'll say purchase units. If you see, we got the suggestion now, and inside that you need to provide the amount. Okay, so amount, you can provide the value in that one, and it is nothing but the selected option dot amount. Okay, and make sure it is 2 decimal, so we'll say 2 fixed to 2. Okay, also you can give the in which currency you want to provide, so you can add the currency code, and currently I'm adding as a USD, and that's all, and that's how you can create the order. Let's save it and let's test this out. Now if I click on this PayPal and let's say pay with debit or credit card, oh, it's still showing 0.01. Let me refresh it, and after refreshing, let's try it now. And if you see, now it's showing the correct amount, the amount which we selected. Okay, now once you make the payment, right here we need to write that call as well. So over here we'll say on approve. Okay, and on the approve we'll call one method called on payment success. Okay, so this method we are going to call. So we'll copy this method and we'll create over here. So this method only will get called when your payment is successful. Okay, so here we'll say console.log payment success. Okay, perfect. And if the payment is cancelled or failed, we'll have option called on cancel. Okay, so right now I will just console it payment cancel message. Okay, and that's all. So that's how you can use it. Now once the payment is successful, here we are going to update user credits in DB. Okay, but we'll see this later on. So first thing, let's test this out. So I will refresh the screen. Also just search on Google PayPal test cards. Okay, so here you can use the testing card, you don't need to use US, and here you have option, but if you want to select the different cards from the different country, you can also do that. So right now I'm in USA, so and you can select the any visa type and simply click generate, and it will generate the card for you. Okay, so let's add let's make a payment. We'll see whether it's working or not. Right now let's select this, click PayPal. Here I will play with the debit and credit card, and here you will select the card number, then expiration date, which is 1/26 I believe, and 1/06. I will just verify once. Yeah, oh, it's 6/26 and 1/06. Okay, so let Let me bring this up on and then this one up. My bad. Oh, perfect. So 626. Okay, you can add the information and then simply click pay now. Okay, it will update your address as well. Say continue, and then it will process your payment. Currently obviously we are in testing mode, and if you see, it's saying thanks for the payment. If I go to the inspect panel and inside the console, you will see the console called payment success, right? It means after successful payment, it console over here and it execute this particular method. Perfect. So that's how guys you can make the payment and add the payment integration. Now once the payment is successful, here we'll simply add a constant result is equal to await db dot update, because we want to update the user schema. So we'll say users dot set, and inside here we just want to update the credits. Okay, and we'll update the credits with along with the existing credits. Now you can get this existing credit using the hook called user details comma set user details is equal to use context, and then here we'll say user detail context. Okay, because we want to add the credits with the existing credits. So here we'll say user detail. I will just make sure the context name is correct. So from the layout, I believe, or maybe inside the provider, oh, just a user detail and not the details. So this need to be a user details only, not the S. And I will make this as a async. Bring this down, and here we'll say user detail dot credit plus, and over here we'll add this particular amount, right? So that amount will get it from the selected option dot amount. Okay, not amount, sorry, the credit. Perfect. Okay, and that's credits we just updated. That's all. And if you want to say returning with an ID, and here we'll say users dot ID and nothing else. And once if result is there, then we'll simply redirect user to the dashboard. So over here I will add the router is equal to use router hook from the next slash router, and over here we'll say router dot push, and over here we'll simply push to the dashboard. Here you need to make sure you will import it from the next slash navigation, I believe. Okay, and then save it. Okay, so that's how you have to update. Now let's test this out. So see, I selected this 25 credits. You can select anything, click PayPal, and I will play with the debit and credit card. Then enter the card number, the expiration date, and then fill the all the details and simply click pay now. Okay, I will update this address, the correct address, and then boom, if you see, it redirect to the dashboard. But if I refresh it now, you will see the credits is changed to 5 to 30. Okay, so that's how you can update it. Now here, once you make the payment, you need to refresh it in order to see the changes, right? Now in order to avoid that one, over here once you got the result, here you can also update the context. Okay, and in the context you can just say previous value. It means you will get all the value. So here we'll say dot 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 previous, and then you want to update the credits with the same value, something like this. Okay, now what will happen, as soon as you update the credit, it will also update the context, and you don't need to refresh your screen, and you will see that changes over here. Now you have 30 credits, right? And with the help of that one you can create a design room. Now one more important over here, once you click on design room and once you click generate, here you need to deduct one credit from the account, okay, whenever you create it. So for that one, let's go to the create new page. So inside this create new, we have page.jsx, right? And once you generate the image, right, over here you can just create or call new method. So over here I will create a new method called constant update user credits, okay, and this method we're gonna call over here, okay. I will make this as a async, and here we'll say await, okay, and simply maybe we can just replace it or push it over here, okay, and then over here we'll call constant result is equal to await db dot update. We want to update the user schema dot set, and inside that we'll add the credits which is equal to user detail. So I'm not sure whether we use this context here. So over here we need to use the context called context user detail comma set user detail is equal to use context, and inside that we'll say user detail context. So what will happen, you already have the number of credits user have, right, and you just need to minus 1, you have to write minus 1, okay. So what will happen if you have 30 credits, right, and you generate one image, so you just deduct 1 from it and it will be a 29, okay. Now you will update your credits to 29. Here we'll say returning as id and users, it's up to you what you want to return, okay, it's not mandatory. And over here if you say if result is true, right, then you can simply say over here that okay, let's update the user detail context with the same technique, okay, and then we'll return just the result of 0 dot id, okay, and nothing else you need to return, and that's all, and then save it, okay. And let's test this out now. Before that, here I will say update the user credits, okay, and save it. Let's go back. Just quick thing, here need to be user detail dot credits, okay, because credits minus 1, I think. Yep, that's the only change. Make sure it's a user detail dot credits minus 1, okay, and I think we are good on this one. Over here as well you need to add user detail dot credits, perfect, and save it. Now if I select the room, then select the different type of, let's say Bahman, here we'll say living room, you can add additional detail and simply click generate. Now we'll wait, and now if you see our room is changed with this beautiful image, okay. If I close this one and go back to the home screen, and if you see it's changed to 29, okay, there is some mismatch. So over here make sure your user detail credits is correct. You can change this to a number, okay, so user detail dot credits and then minus 1, so it will update. Oh, so my bad, so over here we need to update similar like this one, okay, so that's a mistake guys, sorry. So over here you can update something like this, okay, because we have to make sure the previous value is there, and then you just need to update the credits, okay, and here we'll say minus 1 only, okay. So that's the reason initially we got the empty, but now you'll get the correct result. Now let's deploy this application on the cloud so that you can share this app with your friends and family. Also, you can start earning money by integrating this application with the payment gateway, and you can convert this application into SaaS. If you see on the screen, I added this simple and beautiful landing screen. If you want to get this landing screen, the source code is in the description. You can get that one too. And in order to deploy this application on the cloud, we are going to use a Vercel. Vercel is a free cloud service provider for the Next.js application. Very easy to integrate, and with the help of GitHub we are going to push all our code to the GitHub, and then we are going to deploy our application on Vercel. Okay, so if you don't have an account on Vercel, make sure to create one, and once you created the application you will see the dashboard will look like this. Now first thing, let's go to the VS Code. I will close all of this tab for now, and over here first thing you need to initialize the Git. Okay, now once you initialize, let's go to the GitHub and create a new repo. Here you can give the repo name, we'll say AI room redesign. Then you can make the repo public or private and simply click on create repo. Once you created this repository, you need to add the remote origin. So copy this line and simply paste it here. So it will set your remote origin, where we are just telling to our VS Code or application that okay, this, at this particular location you need to push the code. Okay, next thing you need to add a write command git space add dot, so it will add or stage all your files, and then git commit, and git commit message will say initial commit. And then in order to push it very first time, you need to push with this command git push origin main, and later on you can just type git push. Okay, now once you push this all of your code, then still pushing the code will wait, and once it push you can just refresh it and you will see your code is now available to this repo. See, just now we push it. Okay, now let's go to the Vercel, and on the Vercel you will see the dashboard like this. If you see, I already have a lot of project which I deployed for free. Here click add new, click project, and make sure to connect your repository over here. Now you also have an option to connect with the GitLab or Bitbucket also. Now and once you connected, you will see your project. Just now we push it, just simply click import. Once you import, you can give the project name. It automatically detect the framework. You don't need to make any change. Don't make a change on this part as well, but inside the environment variable we need to paste all the environment variable which we added inside .env.local file. Okay, so just copy all of these environment variables and simply paste it here. So it will automatically detect the key and their respective value. See, and simply click deploy. That's how easily that you can deploy your application on the cloud. Now we'll wait to complete this deployment, because first it will build the log, then install some dependency, and then it will start building and deployment your application. And boom, if you see, our application is successfully deployed. I will keep the link of the demo application in the description so you can check that out. Okay, and I will just click on this continue dashboard. Over here you will see your domain, and wow, that's how cool, right? Your application is now live. Okay, how cool. Now obviously you can click on get started, and here once you log in, everything work like perfect. See, okay, you have option to design room and anything. You don't need to make any changes or anything like that. Okay, so guys, that's how you can deploy your application on the cloud like Vercel. You can also use Netlify, or you can also use a Firebase too. Okay guys, so that's all for this particular video. If you have any question, any doubt, let me know in the comment section. If you still did not subscribe to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Press that notification bell icon so that you will not miss any update from me, and this kind of AI project that I'm going to I'll bring you for only for you. It's completely free, as you know that. And if you have any question, or if you have any idea that you are looking to build the application, you can mail me on members@tubegurji.com. I will put all the information in the description, and go ahead and check it and be happy and happy coding.